It was January 2020 when they first announced One Piece is gonna get a live action, and my first reaction was, no! Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you making live action? Who asked for this? You're just gonna ruin it. Live actions are doomed to fail. And to be fair, I wasn't alone. I don't know a single person in the whole universe who was optimistic about this announcement. Because can you really blame us? Well, I'm not saying that I have watched every single live action there is, but that's because they're not good. Well, I've actually heard some of the live actions are decent, like Rurouni Kenshin, and according to my friend, not my word, Tokyo Revengers live action. But they are Japanese live actions and they are targeting, well, Japanese audience. Anyways, the point is the majority of live actions are bad. For example, Death Note live action. Fullmetal Alchemist had a bad live action. Cowboy Bebop. I mean, don't even get me started on that one. And the worst of them all, Dragon Ball Evolution. Now, I'm not saying there were no good live actions before. Like, I've heard Gintama has a great live action, and funnily enough, I've never watched it, considering Gintama is one of my favorite anime. But I'm not here to talk about how bad live actions were, because I think something changed. I think they finally figured out. Like, I watched Sonic's live action, and it was fun. But still, I didn't want to have high hopes for One Piece live action, because there are so many weird and strange characters in One Piece that if you try to adapt it and copy that character into a real human being, it would be the cringiest and the most unwatchable movie in the history. Like, Luffy himself is a dumb character, but his character only works in anime. Also, there was a high possibility that they wouldn't have enough budget to actually make a decent live action, because they might not care about One Piece. All they want is money. But then I remember the saying, have faith in Oda. So okay, I guess it doesn't hurt to wait for it. When I saw the casting of the One Piece live action, surprisingly, I didn't hate it. As a toxic and harsh One Piece fan, I could see them as Straw Hat Pirates. Then I heard Oda himself is in charge of approval of the storyboard and pretty much everything, and that was great news. Then I saw the first trailer and I was like, I'm feeling weird. It looks good? How was it possible? It actually looks kinda good, but that was too soon to say that, and I still don't want to have high hopes for it, because it's because like a self-defense mechanism. If you don't raise your expectations for something, then you won't get disappointed or something like that. But man, I was hyped. With every new trailer it looked better and better, and I was actually convinced to actually give it a chance. So after all the waiting, the One Piece live action is finally here. And of course I had to watch it, I'm a huge One Piece fan. The series starts with arguably the most important scene in the whole story. The moment that started all of it, the moment that shaped everything. And that is the execution of Gold D. Roger. He says the thing and sets the whole world on fire. And I really love this scene, because it easily shows how important Roger was in this world. With only few words, he changed the entire world and starts a new era of the pirates. This scene gave me literal goosebumps. And here we see the first change to the manga, and that is the presence of Monkey D. Garp. And honestly, it might shock everyone, but I kinda like this one. I kind of like this better than the original manga, than canon event, because I think Garp should have been there for the execution of Roger, or his rival and the most important and powerful man in the world. So yeah, not a bad change at all in my opinion. Everything else for the first episode is fine. Luffy punches Alvida, and that is like the first time we see his power. Looks good. We see Zoro for the first time and he freaking slices the man in half. That was so badass. Then Luffy eats a devil fruit, and this is yet another change to the story, just a minor change. In the manga, Luffy is a devil fruit while he's sitting next to Shanks, but in the live action they changed it slightly. And honestly, I don't know how to feel about that, because it might not be something really huge, except for when you realize how easy it was for Luffy to eat the devil fruit, something extremely valuable to Shanks. I mean, Shanks wouldn't make such a mistake, right? So the live action kinda takes away the mystery behind Shanks' motivation. But I didn't hate it. I mean, it was good. It still made sense for Luffy to eat the devil fruit in a room while he's alone. And also a side note, I love how Luffy says it tasted awful, but it's the whole thing regardless. That's the Luffy I love. But I'm not here to talk about the changes. I just want to say that it's not a exact one-to-one adaptation. So is that okay? Stick around till the end to find out. Then we see Nami and she has a great introduction, and also, oh my god, in the first episode, something happens. Something that I did not expect. I couldn't predict something like this happening in the first episode of the live action in like even 1,000 years. And that is, we see Helmeppo's butt cheeks. Also, I love Helmeppo's actor. I think he nailed his role. I never cared about him in anime, but in the live action, I liked seeing his character development. I think that was cool. But not only this, the tone of live action is more mature than the anime. And I think that's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing. They drop F-bombs here and there and they say shit like multiple times, and I like seeing that. Anyway, everything else for the first episode is decent. However, I have a teeny tiny itsy bitsy problem with the second episode, and that is this fight scene. Honestly, I didn't like it. Shanks does this handgun pose thing and Luckyroo shoots him, and then Shanks immediately turns around and kinda looking shocked, like he wasn't expecting Luckyroo to actually shoot the guy, and I don't know. What even was that? And I know, it is a stupid thing to complain about. But that's not all. I think the whole fight scene that happens after was unnecessary. Or maybe I'm just not used to seeing Shanks' crew fight. Also, nothing against this actor, but he doesn't really look like Beckman to me. But, believe it or not, that was like one of my few complaints I had for the live action. So, One Piece live action is true to its source material, but it's not 100% one-to-one adaptation, because they have made slight changes to the story. Like, one other change is Mihawk's introduction. We don't see him at Baratie for the first time. We see him in middle of nowhere hunting down Don Krieg. And that was kind of interesting. And honestly, I don't have any complaints about it, because it still had its purpose, and we also saw Mihawk's crazy power. And oh boy, that introduction was the coolest thing in the whole series. They nailed Mihawk's role. I love him. But the biggest change they've made is how Garp is after Luffy from the start, and overall Garp's storyline. So while not being exactly true to the manga, I think that's not a bad thing, because it still made sense to see Garp at Roger's execution. It made sense when Luffy ate the devil fruit while he was alone in a room. It made sense to give Kobe so much screen time. Yeah, they did give Kobe a lot of screen time, because like it or not, he plays a big role in the story. It made sense to see Mihawk hunting down Don Krieg. It made sense to tone down some of the characters' quirks like Usopp's constant lying and Luffy being an absolute idiot, because that would be so cringe seeing in real life. Now, I'm not saying the original story is bad or doesn't make sense, but we should also bear in mind that almost everything had to get Oda's approval first. I think that's why when even some small things are different, they still make sense to the overall story. Okay, enough of the story. Let's talk about some of the other qualities of the live action, such as, I don't know, how about the great camera work and cinematography? They went so hard filming this. Some of the scenes were absolutely beautiful. I think my favorite part was this scene in Baratie. Just look at the shots, look at the different angles, look at the different perspectives. But this is not the only place that has great camera work, because they also did a good job in showing some of the more emotional scenes with this particular lens, and I can tell you that they love using this lens, but that's fine. The action scenes are not the greatest, but they're still pretty good. I was actually really hyped watching Zoro and Sanji fighting side by side. Like, all of Makenyo's action scenes were amazing. Just look at this man. He's perfect. And he's also really big in the whole live action industry. So he had a lot of martial arts training, and that's a great thing. Also, Sanji's kicks were some real kicks, because Taz, the actor of Sanji, is also a martial artist. And oh my god, I also love this man. He's amazing. And also I have to talk about Jacob, the actor of Usopp. He's the most Usopp motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. And the music during the action scenes were perfect. Like the music during the duel between Zoro and Mihawk. Oh my god, that was fire. but not only during action scenes. This live action had so many great scores and music, and they fit extremely well to the overall vibe of One Piece world. But my absolute favorite song was in Nami's flashback scene. It was so emotional and beautiful that I want to listen to it again. Not only music really helps with the immersion, but the set design were also perfect. Roger's execution scene was so massive, and you could really feel how important that was. Going Merry was built from scratch with so much love and care. It really felt like a home to Straw Hat Pirates. I loved it. And the fact that they built the ship in real life, and pretty much like so many other ships, it's just like crazy. But again, Baratie has to be my favorite set design. Because oh my god, look at this. I mean, they had to go hard, but they went super ultra extra maximum hard on some of the set design, especially for Baratie. And obviously they use a lot of VFX and CGI, but it wasn't as obvious and in your face kind of CGI. Not the best, but still pretty good for the most part. Like for example, I thought Luffy's power is gonna look so dumb and uncanny, and that was like my biggest concern. And well, Luffy's power is supposed to look funny and goofy, that is like the whole point. But in the live action, his powers actually looked good. I mean, I don't know anything about VFX and CGI, but I think it was good. The costumes were top notch, especially Nami's. And talking about Emily Rod, she is the embodiment of Nami. And her costumes look exactly like the manga, and they look extremely good on her. But yeah, all of the Straw Hat actors were on point. Usopp is Usopp, Sanji is him, Zoro is fantastic, Nami looks great, but Luffy. I promise, you cannot find anyone in the whole universe who is more like Luffy than Iñaki. I mean, he's so precious. I really like him. I love him. And overall, I did see all of them as actual Straw Hat Pirates. And you could almost say that is the most important thing in a live action. But I do wish instead of 8 episodes, there was like 10, so that we could spend more time with the members on the ship and see the relationship grow. Like, when did Zoro and Nami become such close friends? I don't know. When did Luffy and Usopp become such close friends? I don't know. And I think some of the relationships needed more time to grow. And also Sanji, he was like, oh, you want a chef? Yeah, I'm in. Just like that. And also Usopp's fight in Along Park was really underwhelming, because in the manga he gets beaten so badly, but he still manages to show bravery and overcome his fear. Something that did not happen in the live action, and his fight ended up really fast and without any injuries. But I don't know, why was it only 8 episodes? I wish it was 10 episodes instead. So, did the One Piece live action did it? Hell yeah, it did. It was the best live action I've seen. Now it's true that I'm a huge One Piece fan, but I try to be as unbiased as I could be. But that's like nearly impossible. I could be more harsh on it, but I genuinely couldn't stay mad over the little changes. My unbiased final score would be 8.5 out of 10. But as a One Piece fan, I like to give it a 9.5 out of 10. It's almost perfect. And bear in mind, nothing in this world is perfect, and its live action was as good as it could be. I already can't wait for the second season and to see how they're going to adapt the future arcs, because some of the arcs are near impossible to adapt unless you have infinite budget. But the good news is, One Piece live action did amazing. It's #1 on so many different countries. And as I'm recording this video, One Piece episode 1074 came out, and it's even better than episode 1072. And it's the best action episode of the whole series. Even the latest chapter of the manga was so hype, and it had a crazy panel. So truly, what a time to be alive and to be a One Piece fan. So yeah, One Piece live action was a success, and I'm happy they made it.